Roll call, looks like we're just missing Lisa, but she's going to be on through Zoom. Is Lisa on at this point?
She might be a little bit behind Joe. She said that she was just checking in her hotel, but
Oh, okay. I thought
could be short.
we talked about moving her up on the agenda.
Yeah, but she wants to be up on the agenda because she has another meeting immediately, but not this
Here,
You turn your volume down.
it's all the way down.
I mean, after item 4, I think is what Brandon was talking about, Joe.
That's what I was just wondering too, if she's on. Most of them.
Is it still here? The volume.
Waiting for Brandon to get to the sound now.
Somebody, how come it's still coming through here, even though it's muted, it's quiet? Volume in this corner. Yeah, it's muted. More. You're not recording. We are recording, but you're not doing. Okay, it should be coming through that one.
Thank you.
Couldn't be clean.
We got the volume down and everything.
She's muted.
And her computer volume.
So, yeah, your computer's picking up the sound.
It's off, already off. Oh, there you go.
Manually.
Did get words.
Yeah.
Yay! Actually going. Okay, so in the Zoom, that's interesting. I wonder.
That's really weird.
There it was. It wasn't just doing it the other two.
Okay. Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, you're all set then?
I think we're set now. Thank you.
So we believe Lisa will be joining us through Zoom shortly. So I guess we will do the pledge first. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next will be some comments. We don't have that. Item number 3, we don't have that. Approval of the minutes. Brandon sent out a copy of the minutes. Do you have any suggestions or changes to those? I thought they looked good. Of course, you did a good job on that, so.
Well, actually, Brandon had it out. SBCSA.
That's good, and I like.
It was a.
I like that it was not like word for word stuff. I think that was simple and looked good to me, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 6th, 2024 board meeting.
We have a second,
I second.
all in favor? Opposed, I vote aye. And Lisa is still not on,
No.
okay, so we'll go ahead with, financial. Item number 5, signers on bank accounts. Hank has something on that.
I do. I move that we add Mark Paris as a signer to our operational savings account. Through
Not the operational account, but the
foundation,
foundation, yes.
the savings account at Elwood Better Credit Union.
I will second that.
Okay, discussion on that.
Do we need to add them to that checking account as well?
He didn't care if he could sign on the checking account, he just wanted to be able to see the account.
Just
Yeah,
access
on
that
the account so you can
account.
see it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I have questions, I guess, on that. So what is his official capacity to be a signer on there?
Because he's the accountant of record, Joe, for the Nevada Classical Academy. And he is in charge and has spreadsheets on all of the foundation donations. So he needs to be able to, and he has he has to be able to access that.
Right,
Just makes it efficient, so I don't have to go get statements and then bring it to him, and he
Right,
can just access that at his.
yeah.
It's not the operational, it's the foundational.
Right.
Exactly.
unclarity to me is, so we have the founding board, right, that kind of created this group, but does this group, do we need to officially maintain account? Because we have, this group hasn't done that, the founding board kind of did, see what I'm saying, that's a kind of a separate financial,
It would be a paid position?
none of them can be paid positions.
No,
Well, I mean, as an accountant, he can charge us for his services.
Right, when he does audits and things like that.
But not if I'm on the board.
If he's on the board, he can't.
Oh, he can't.
exactly.
Husband and wife.
No. That, for what I understood in the bylaws.
In the bylaws, it does not say that.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
It is, okay, according to the bylaws, if you guys read them today.
I did, I even brought comments.
Yeah. So, if my impression is that it's not a founding board, governing board kind of transition. It's just that he has been the accountant of record for the school and continues to do that, at least for the foundation account. And then I suppose if you want to approve him for the operating account, but he's the one that helped us set it up. So I think it seems to be a fairly moot point, but
Well, we need a motion to hire him as an accountant.
Yeah, that'll be separate, we don't have, that's not part of this.
Right.
It's just a question I had, if we need the founding group. I don't know, I'm not expressing it right. Yes.
Well, and this will be important actually, and maybe we can do it next meeting when we start talking budget stuff. Because in my conversations down at Founders, like understanding who's paying startup costs versus operating school and the money, where the money's sitting. So all of this, I think, needs to be clarified as we start to spend into the money more. So I think you're asking a good question, and I think we just need to get it clarified here in the near future, because there's advantages to either the foundation money being transferred to the operational account, or the foundation money paying everything, donating it to the school. Like there's different ways it can be done, and we want to think that through before we just decide one way or the other.
I think we ought to table this discussion until Mark gets here.
Yeah.
Because, I think he's got that pretty well figured out.
Okay.
And I think that the way that it goes is the foundation money from donations will be transferred as needed to the operational account. But I'm not sure of that, so.
Usually foundations have their separate boards and decision-making bodies. Are they gonna be our accountants to do our annual reports and everything?
Well, I think that's the question, because Cam is responsible for doing annual reports, and Cam has an accountant that Cam, Classical Academy Management, or back office, is responsible for that. So that's the other thing, we don't want to get sideways with Cam, because Cam's running our books, and they're going to be keeping track of all of that. And their accountant will be coming to this meeting to share the updates.
On the
And
operation.
usually for annual audit. That we annually gonna be annually audited.
We have to hire.
So
I think we hire someone for
So
that.
that's all on the operational.
the
side.
operation.
Yeah,
Even their coordination with Cam is on the operational side.
Exactly.
This is the donation side, so we do have to get that.
And it's not this board.
And-
The donation side isn't this board. That's what
Development
Joe's saying.
Lands Council.
No, I think it's still this board But if I'm correct in my understanding, it's still this board, but Mark is the accountant for that as opposed to the accountant for the operational account, which is CAM. So there are two different,
She's gonna have to clarify that, because I don't, if it's not, I don't think it is just worded right before Fernando stated that, I wrote founding board versus foundation.
right,
The founding board is gone.
it's on, yeah,
Yeah.
it's no longer there,
So
right?
that's why Mark is no part of any of that. He's not on the governing board, but that money is now part of possibly a foundation. We don't have, that hasn't been established or created either.
Mhm.
But that money is sitting out there in a foundation account. So he needs to explain to us, what do we need to do? Does that need to be an established board that has say over those funds for us? Because we only have say over the public funds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
So I think that we need to, so I would think that Hank, we need to probably.
Yeah, I'll withdraw,
rescind that-
I'll
that
withdraw the motion and move that we table this at least until.
Until Mark
next
gets-
arrives.
it's
Agree with that.
complicated right now.
Yeah, because I think we all are on the same page on what that looks like, because I don't know what it looks like. And Mark should be able to answer those questions for us. Okay. Lisa's still not on.
And she is, let me just put my.
I mean, we should be able to see her if she was on. I don't, do you see
Yeah.
people on?
Make sure she didn't text somebody saying she can't get on.
Yeah, no, she's not here.
Okay. So I'm gonna table all of number 5 fundraising committee and all of that, so I think that all kind of is contained in that. So item 6, school leader report.
Okay,
Where do we go for that?
so in your current meeting tab, you should find the current school leader report. And I just did it this way today on the screen instead of making it PowerPoint. Did everybody find it in your, it's on the, so minutes of first and then school leader report, should be the second thing in there. So with regards to enrollment, the dates, important dates are still listed there. And we had one family show up to our first school information session. So we're off and running. So I'll continue to market those and try to get people here, and it's a tough time of year with holidays and such, but I'll just keep doing my best.
How are you marketing?
Facebook right now, Facebook and Instagram, and then I've contacted the radio stations to see if we can get PSAs for those, the radio stations. And then newspaper is on my to-do list to see if we can put it in the newspaper. It's also in what's it, Elko Connect, what's Liz Todd?
Something else, community Elko.
Community Elko or something.
Yeah.
So it's on that calendar.
Is it on the Facebook Elko information page or just on ours? Yeah, because we don't have that many visitors, but Elko reporting news, whatever
No,
yours.
it's a different web, it's a different.
If you put it on there, they will.
And share it. Okay, I will do that. I forget all those.
You could even put it on ours and then share it, so they see that there's a Nevada Classical Academy Facebook page, and then share it to that page,
Awesome.
and then you'll get traction.
Okay.
You have flyers at churches or preschools.
Head Start.
Oh yeah, you guys mentioned that. Okay, flyers at churches. Okay, I'll do
This
that.
is a blue, but where people go to wash their clothes.
Oh, the line again? Okay.
I thought you were to say wash your car.
My wife should drive for a couple days ago and I didn't hear, but I once and it was like, God, I didn't know how many people there is a whole community there.
Great thought. Really good thought. Okay. So yeah, I'll work on that this week.
So Lisa says she is waiting in the room, so I'm not sure exactly what.
You gotta let her in. That door.
And I have somebody here on the phone.
Um,
I have somebody here on the phone, presumably her.
Should be.
Is she only phone?
she's not a,
Lisa, can you hear us? We're not muted, right? No,
Okay.
so.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Too quiet.
Barely.
Turn the
Yeah,
TV off.
kind of hearing, so we're gonna get the volume turned up.
say again?
Okay, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Again, welcome.
Thank you. I apologize for being late.
No worries, we kind of were jumping around a little bit anyways, so. And you have something you have to get to, so do we want to go ahead and do your report next? Are you
Yeah,
ready?
I can do it whenever you're ready for me.
Okay, Brandon was just kind of going through some things, but we can skip away from that and then go to, let's see, you were number
Seven.
7, bylaw and procedure committee. Okay, so if you're ready, we'll go ahead and jump to you and then we'll get back on our other stuff.
Sure, that works fine. Thank you. And we just wanted to make a brief report about the update on the bylaws and make sure everybody had a chance to look at those and that we all understand the status of the bylaws. So our bylaw committee worked on the bylaws, looking at the various versions that have been used and are currently in use, and ended up cleaning up and combining them into the version that I emailed to all the board members yesterday. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at that, at those, and we've looked through them pretty thoroughly just to check for any issues or edits, as well as to make sure that all of the, the main information and the priority information is in there. This draft is based on the draft that Katie McConnell worked on. I think it was over a year ago now, but she has at least seen a lot of the information that is in there. And it took out a lot of the repetition that was in the other version and a lot of the things that weren't applicable to the school and to the organization and to the board. But I think captures everything else. I did make the edits that we had talked about in the last board meeting, some of the similar things, like it had said president instead of chair, and some of the various terminology pieces of it have been updated to match the terms that we have been using, including information about the board committees has been aligned with what we put into the SPCSA application. So it should align with what we continue to work through with SPCSA. So this version, again, is pretty clean, and the thought was if everybody on the board could take a chance to look at it, see if you have any questions or concerns, and then get a final review by Katie, just to make sure we didn't miss anything or there isn't anything that she flags for us.
So you're recommending that we approve it pending review? Okay.
Yes.
I know
Yeah,
when I
we're
read,
oh, go ahead.
I know when I read through it, my laptop wouldn't open up here, but I just saw one typo.
Okay.
It's really minor thing, but I like the content. I thought all looked really good.
Great, and we are happy to make any edits, fix any typos as well before we send it to Katie. But the recommendation is that everybody look at it, give us any of those typos or other specific edits, and then we recommend approval following one final review by Katie. So, Joe, do you want me to fix that typo now? Do you recall what it is?
I can't remember where it was. So is exact document, is it on the shared drive?
I can put it there now.
And then, I get my laptop back up, I could see where it was. It was right towards the beginning. It was just something like said on instead of to or something. It was something simple. Wasn't anything major.
Yeah, I found one similar edit. I'll put that in an email later.
Well, I mean, Katie's gonna review this anyway, you guys, so, I mean, I think what Lisa and our committee is looking for is a motion to approve. Pending Katie's, review and approval. So I think that's what we're looking for. Pretty simple.
And my thought is it's ready for that. I mean, I thought it looked really good. So if somebody want to make a motion? Yeah, I just did.
Well, I'm on that committee.
Oh, I'll make the motion to approve the bylaw and the bylaws. Hold it, let me make sure. Well, I'll just read it. Bylaw and procedures pending final legal review by Katie McConville. Okay.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Perhaps?
Who seconded? Fernando?
He's on this right side of yours. So
No kidding.
I'll dig up that.
Thanks, Joe. You're a hell of a friend, a very good friend.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion?
Thank you for your guys' time.
Good work on that. Group, you all did really good. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
I vote aye. Thanks, Lisa. So it's now going to be on the shared drive. Everybody look at it. And if you see the typos or whatever, just make a quick comment on those. And then when do you want to forward that to Katie? Will Brandon be forwarding it? Or Lisa, you're going to forward it to Katie?
It
Lisa,
doesn't matter to me.
I'll forward it to Katie tomorrow, and you guys already have it in your personal email rather than the shared drive.
Right, but when we do a comment, it doesn't show up, so that's why I wanted to mark it up. I mean, I can tell you what page and stuff it's on, but when it's on the shared drive, we just sort of comment. However, if you see, whichever way you want to get it in there, if you have something you've seen, want to just email it to you.
Yeah, and then, because I talked to Katie this morning, so she is waiting for the draft. So I'll send it tomorrow, pending any kind of comments. I know that is, yeah.
All right, so that is good. Okay, let's go back to Brandon's report then.
Can I make a comment? Mark said he can't come, but he would call in. Or if you really need him to, he can run down and discuss this.
You can call in.
Okay. But go ahead. I'll
You
just-
can zoom in.
They have them zoom in. But either one.
We'll come back to him next.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Okay, so I will continue working on enrollment and getting school information attendees and answering questions. I also set up an info@ncaalco.org email that I'm monitoring. So some people have been asking questions through that as well. So that I'll keep monitoring that. So that's enrollment. Personnel, the job application for the registrar administrative assistant went live. And we have 10 resumes. One more came in today, and I was leaving it open 7 business days, which is today. So tomorrow I will print off those 9-10 resumes, do an initial screen, start setting up interviews. And I spoke with Paula at Founders, and she will sit on that interview with the interviews. She is who the registrar at Founders. So they'll be working close together. So that's encouraging.
And where all was that posted?
It's just through Indeed.
All 10 are booked.
I haven't looked that carefully yet.
Okay.
I was just letting them come in till tomorrow.
So how would someone know that it's on? I mean, if you have somebody that's at a school here, how would they know to look if they were thinking, I'm,
I don't know.
I just followed Founders. They said they just post all of their jobs on Indeed. And that's all they do.
I mean, that's Clark County, I think that's kind of common, I just,
I mean, we can, I mean, I guess I did post it on our Facebook page, so it went out a couple times through our social media page to let people know that are aware of us, they are aware. Again, we probably could utilize the newspaper and the radio if we think about that. I don't think, I mean, the fact we have 10 resumes, I think clearly it got,
right.
I think we're good, but in the future, that's a good question to ask.
Is on our website.
It's on our website. Mhm.
So when you look through the 10, you get a couple of cream rises to the top. If none of them meet the criteria, then we can expand out.
Then we can expand.
I think so. I was surprised, I mean, I thought 10 was a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I just,
Plus you said they were
Some of them are very good. The ones I have quickly perused through were like, okay, these are real applicants.
I know that when we did it through Indeed for your position, most of them we had to just discard.
Yeah.
They weren't viable candidates.
Okay. So I'll keep you up to date on that. So let's see, with regard to academics, while I was down at Founders this last week, they provided us buku information on the specific classroom furniture and curriculum material that will meet Hillsdale's requirements for when we apply to be a member school in 2 years' time. So when we start purchasing, we want to have that in mind. And so I literally have copies of the purchase requests with the vendors and the numbers and the quantities, everything we need to outfit our classrooms from K through 5 right now. So that was super helpful, and it includes all of that curriculum material as well. So the physical furniture and curriculum.
So what the furniture look like? I mean, what they have specifics?
For instance, 2 bookcases, one behind the teacher's desk, one for student access, particular map on the wall. Like there's a very specific way they want their classrooms to look. So that kind of thing. And then teachers' materials behind the teacher's desk, student materials and the student bookshelf, things like that.
So was it things like individual desks versus tables? Or...
Yeah, like kindergarten, I think K1 uses tables. I think then 2, I can't remember all the details, but yes, it's specific, like down to each grade level. And lunch tables are included.
Did you talk to them about piggybacking onto their curriculum orders to possibly save money?
Yeah, we talked about that.
I mean, the first year or two would be nice till we got.
Yeah, so yeah, and so what my big tying on to this exactly is starting to create the budget again, the startup budget, year 1 budget, specifically for all of the things that we need so that we have a spending plan and we know exactly how we're going to purchase and all that. So that's why I was asking for that information when I was down there. So we need to get that rolling so that we all are on the same page. And that's when the conversations about these different accounts and the money and we need to figure all of that out. So that will be a agenda item in the near future that we focus on what this looks like.
We should be pretty close because when in our budget, the numbers that I got came from them. So they gave me $1 amount per pupil,
Right.
$1 amount per classroom furniture. So it should be, if they're specifying that,
We should be good. And the other key to this is costing it. And this goes back to the money situation and why Colleen will be so helpful. We have to account for all those dollars in the correct accounting codes. And so certain things will go in certain codes. And so, yeah, Colleen and I are starting to work on all of that. So taking those general numbers and putting them into very specific line items for the budget.
Good.
So anyway, so that was the academics report, so super helpful, and just you guys, I can't wait till we have kids in these hallways, like. Having a school with no kids is no fun. Nothing to report state assessment, nothing to report reoccurring, or I don't have anything there. I did register for that CRC Institute in North Carolina, so I'll be going there, and that's also a job fair, so we'll have all our stuff to hopefully recruit some teachers. And we will be having bi-monthly, twice a month meetings with CAM beginning in December so we are checking in with one another and establishing our procedures. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in the new business report coming. And
Just a question on that.
Yes.
Is that just me and you, or is Hank involved?
anyone is welcome to attend that.
Because it's back office financial, so you might want
Maybe at first too, just to.
It would be good just informationally, if nothing else.
I'll send you the link
Okay, thank you.
and the calendar invite. So yeah, anyone's welcome to learn and start to understand that back office process. And like I said, I'll tell you a little bit more about it here at the appropriate time. Can we have a link?
And just to piggyback on that a little bit is that Amy and I have a CAM meeting because we sit on their board on Tuesday. So.
Let's see, the last thing is the internet is into the building, so that's a good step. Now we have to get the internet router, wireless router, and Daniel, the IT person from Founders. We talked about ordering computers and Chromebooks, and now is a really good time to be ordering this technology. So he's working on the quote that we can put into our budget, and we'll tag into Founders to purchase the materials. Daniel will set them up. He'll physically come to this building in February to set up our network and connect all of the computers so that we're ready to roll as much as possible at this moment. And we are ordering desktops for the adults essentially, and then we'll have classroom set for Chromebooks. But anyway, Daniel's helping with all of that. And so the good news is the internet's in the building, and now we just need the parts and pieces to start sending it out. And Daniel's willing. He's never come to Elko, so he's excited. Come visit us.
In February.
In February, I know. I
Good
told
time of year to come visit.
Yeah.
So, just with that, like, I think the charter school before they had like they would bring a whole bunch of laptops, like in a portable thing to each classroom. So it was like a cart full of laptops. That way you could move them easily.
Yeah, we have the cards.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Hank's scored those at the district sale.
And the cards charge the.
Laptops, sure, yeah.
Yeah, when you buy a set, it comes with a card, and you just plug it in and it charges them overnight, and they just pull them on.
Right.
So, yeah, so to finish my report, the time spent in Founders, it was fast and furious, but it was a wealth of information. And I just cannot say enough about the willingness of Founders to help us set us up for success. Just a fantastic team. And I'm just hopeful that our little team is going to be as awesome as they are, because every one of those human beings are just fantastic. They're just helpful and organized. I mean, it's like next level compared to sometimes, anyway. Thank you, Founders.
Good stopping point.
Yeah, just fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you on that. So we'll go back to item number 5, financial. Signers on bank account. So Mark, while you were gone, we had some questions on that, because we have an account that was created by the founding board. We no longer have a founding board. We have a governing board. And we have an account that is our operational account. Okay, so they've asked for you to be able, as an accountant, to be able to sign on the account that's a foundation account, but we don't have a foundation. So tell us or give us advice of what we need to do. Do we need a foundation board that oversees those funds to make recommendations on how those funds are gonna be?
Well, the problem with that is you would have to apply to the IRS and get a new 501c3 for the foundation, which would be a long drawn out process. And to create a separate entity for the foundation, as opposed to the operation of the charter school. And I guess we could look into that. I would want Ron Fick's opinion on that. I don't know if they have one. You know, if Founders Academy has a foundation.
There's another entity that's FEL, Founders Educational Legacy, which is we are members of, and I'm not 100% sure how that works, but there is. So yeah, we need to loop Ron Fick in on this conversation, because there is already another 501c3 that's set up for this very purpose.
Sorry, I think the foundation for has a 501c4, which I know exactly what the difference is, but it's minimal.
But yeah, so there's this FEL is another group that's supposed to be helpful in this process.
Have you approached the college foundation here? They might give us some advice on that.
Yeah,
So what,
Well, and I was thinking if they have a separate foundation, Founders has a separate foundation, then maybe we could put our money in that foundation, but that money would be earmarked for Elko. And that would avoid going through all those steps of setting up another foundation and applying to the IRS. And I mean, it takes 6 months to get approval from the IRS for a new foundation.
But is this really all necessary? I mean,
I
we
don't
just set
think
up
so.
another foundation. I mean,
I
that
don't
doesn't
think
seem,
so.
I mean, I think we're maybe dealing with semantics here. I mean, I'm not sure,
Right.
but we have two accounts. One is an operational account, one is a donation account. I don't know that it's a foundation account.
Maybe we change the
And
name
we
so
need
it
it-
doesn't get so.
Yeah, or just colloquially call it something else, but is there any reason? that this board
Facilities account.
Can't manage two accounts?
that's what.
Right, I think they can. I think this board could just
Right,
manage
we're-
2 different accounts.
So operational and public funds are being handled through CAM, and then the private funds and donations be handled.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
With Mark as the accountant of record in that place, I would think.
Well, there's some issues because the charter school does not want me, I mean, I can do it, I guess, pro bono, but I cannot be compensated.
Well, of course you can. Why would you want to be compensated?
Well, I'm just saying and my other question is, if I'm not on the board, can I be on the checking account? I don't know that answer.
That's the question.
So we really need to table all of this until we can get more information from
Yeah.
Cam, how they.
Before we do, let's make sure we know exactly what we need to ask.
Because I've already been, I mean, I was on that account, but now I'm not on the credit union account. And now I can't see the credit union account.
And you
Because
have
I'm not a
all the
signer.
donations and you have the spreadsheet that tracks all that.
Yeah, it'd
Right.
be easier for you to have direct access to it rather than to get the statements and keep the statements.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Whether or not we want that responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with doing that. And I would do it pro bono, but I just don't want to get crossways with the state charter school authority. And I don't know if we need to ask Katie McConnell or who would dictate if I could be a signer on that account. Because one of the problems with the credit union, despite Kelly Buckner's thing that the credit union can do everything a bank can do, is they don't have like guest users. So at banks, Wells Fargo and Nevada State Bank, I could be a guest user, which means I can see the account. I can go online, I can see the account, but I'm not a signer. I can't transfer money. I'm just a guest user. But with credit union, that they don't do that. They don't allow that. I did check on that.
I would think, if that account is, let's say the board oversees that account as well. To me, the only people that legally can sign it are a member of the board or employee. which you are neither.
Correct.
So who's currently able to sign on that account?
Hank, Lisa and I.
Okay, so he's not, so we're,
But that's what Mark's saying, since he administers all those funds and has.
Don't administer
I
them,
mean,
I
I'm
keep
sorry,
track.
right, track all those funds. And has the spreadsheets from the beginning. It doesn't matter. I mean, I think that whether it's a founding board or now the governing board, those donations are all melding into one account. And he needs to be able to see that account, is all he's asking.
Well, yeah, but I'm also willing to give Hank the QuickBooks file that has all of the information in it. And he can keep track of it if that's what you want. I'm willing to do whatever's needed.
Well, I talked to Katie McConnell today, though, and I mean, we've got the bylaws that we went through today are very specific to what is allowed to the treasurer. And she wants a check and balance on everything. So, I mean, I think that having you, I mean, I think we ought to ask Katie, but I think she would be a lot happier with Mark acting as, you know, the tracker of this account and being able to see the guest user or whatever.
And as treasurer, I mean, I've got to keep track of it anyway, but for the amount of money we're talking about, I think services to the CPA are warranted.
well, we would have to hire the CPA.
Hire
But
money.
you can't hire me.
So
Because,
he's doing it pro bono. He just
But
said,
still hiring. I mean, we're still contracting, I guess is a better term.
In the bylaws, it talks about nepotism, and nepotism is when one person benefits
Correct.
by association with a spouse or a family member, right? But if he's not getting paid, he wouldn't be benefiting.
and it specifies that.
Okay.
Well, you can always recuse yourself from voting. If we got a motion to
Oh.
hire, you just don't vote.
Mhm.
You disclose.
Right.
So there seem to be two issues here, at least two. One, do we hire Mark as an accountant to monitor the quote unquote foundational funds? And two, if yes, do we make him a signer on that? I think those are two distinct.
Or three, you start a foundation that raises funds that determines what those funds are gonna be used for at the school.
But that assumes
Which
then we
takes
have to
time.
spend, yeah, and
That's a lot of.
That's a high.
Another
We
word.
wanna do it right, correct. We wanna do it.
yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of a foundation, you know, where we could raise a lot of money. And, you know, and it's not really under the purview of the school and the administration and, and I don't care that it's audited, but the school funds have to be audited. I'm not sure that a foundation would have to be audited, which is expensive. The audit's gonna be expensive.
So
And I mean, it could still be check and balances. It just wouldn't have another, you know, I mean, if I'm doing it, then you have another CPA firm that has to come in and do an audit of the foundation. I mean, it adds a lot of cost.
So then what decides what's a school fund or not? Do the private funds that we have from collecting donations, is that a school fund simply because we as a board oversee that?
Right now it is, yes.
So question, if we separate those, then does it become a donation to cover monthly operational costs or once we start getting DSA and there may be a gap, it would be considered a donation to the operational fund or to the school?
Correct, the foundation
The foundation
could
would
give
donate.
money to, it's just like the Great Basic College Foundation gives money to Great Basic College. But the foundation is a separate foundation that has fundraisers and, you know.
I'm inclined towards that, having a separate foundation for it.
So my
Funds.
concern with that, and in the long run, maybe this is a good thing. But I see the potential for conflict there if the board of the foundation doesn't like the way something's going on with this board or the school for one reason or another. Well, now they have those purse strings.
And I don't know legally if they can have the same board, if the foundation can have the same board as this board. Like I said, I think we have more questions than we have answers, but
Yeah.
I can reach out to Ron and and I don't know how you, I mean, that's not my decision, but if the Founders Academy down there has a separate foundation, because just like the college foundation, I mean, they have different programs, so like you can give money to the college foundation that's for welding and stuff, or whatever, you can have it for the arts, or whatever it might be. If we can have the Founders Academy Foundation, whatever, that's what that legacy fund. If it is already an established foundation, and they will allow us to be, part of that, and just, but it would all be segregated, and it would be in a foundation. The problem is, well, I don't know if you guys are on the foundation board, you're on the CAM board, right?
But that's a whole separate
Right.
entity.
Right, but the Legacy Foundation, I believe, is possibly a separate foundation from Founders Academy,
Right.
from CAM, so they probably have.
I think there's three,
They
yes.
have their own separate board and
I think
everything.
there's three
Yeah.
entities.
Well, so to just, just restate what you just said, we've got more questions and answers, so maybe we should just table this until maybe you can call Ron. I'll check in with Katie and see what, for the next meeting, what we bring back as to how to deal with this.
Do we want to move this to a committee? So do we want to move this to a committee? They can come back with a recommendation.
I got a couple
I don't know.
before we decide that, so. Um, that's my train of thought. Okay, so. Right now, we have funds that are sitting in an account that have been donated that we're gonna have to use for startup costs, for operational costs. So we need to move those funds from that account to our operational account there. If we have a foundation that oversees that, and we say, the board says, or you go to them and we say, hey, we need $5,000 for whatever. And they say, no, we're gonna use it to do X. That can happen,
That could be an issue.
which is.
I think it's.
So. The ideal situation, I guess, would be that we have two, and they're governed by us. And what's it, because we're already a 501c3. Us being this group. So I guess that's my.
The operation,
How do we, is that kind of what we're gonna try to accomplish there?
Yeah.
And then. Whoever will be asking to find out if we hire an accountant versus we already have a back office. So do we need an accountant when we already have a back office that's doing our financial along with our treasurer?
Yeah, if they want to do that, I would be happy to turn that over.
Yeah,
But,
right, but I guess
yeah,
for you to ask Ron,
right. I will talk to Ron and then, attempt to memorialize it in an email to all of you. And what he says.
I think the unique part that we have to remember is Founders is operational and fully funded with a strong ending fund balance. And so we're not in that position yet, right? So once we're in that position, then this becomes a little bit less of a stressor, because we're not gonna be constantly having to dip in and ask for donations or get creative and transfer monies as much. And then we can shift toward building our facility, looking for property, moving into truly an approach to expand our horizons. So we're in a unique position that Ron's not in, and hasn't been in for probably 10 years.
right? Why do we need a foundation? That's the question.
I personally don't think we do. I think we can have a facility, once we get operational and have our DSA intact, I think we can have a facility.
Then that would
fund.
be easy.
Donations come in and they go into the facilities. And we can have different line items where we build out what we want.
Yeah, and we can earmark that, and
Exactly.
that would fall on me to earmark that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The budget.
can people give donations specific to thing they want.
Yeah, playground,
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
Restricted to a
It's like
specific.
if we need the money, we have a priority. I mean, I'm assuming when we start this, we're gonna say, here's our list of priorities. We need desks, we need whatever. And somebody gives money for something that's not on our priority list, are we obligated to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna use it to do what you want?
And we have one of those because I talked to Mel Craig and he is a trustee of the Marv Epstein Lynn Rubel Foundation, who their purpose is to provide music or whatever. So if, and he's basically told me he would give us money. He didn't say how much. And he's actually giving money to Wells High School or Wells School for their music program. But that's a typical example of a restricted donation where if he gives us money for music, we can't use it for desks kind of thing. So
I would think that, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I would think that if somebody has earmarked, they're giving us tens of thousands or $100 that they want to go to music, I mean, I would think you should spend that for music.
Put it on line item to honor what they say.
I mean, I don't know, I think you'd have to honor that.
Well, music is an easy one, and I don't want to throw out an example, but it could be for something that doesn't agree with our mission and vision.
We don't have to accept the
And we
donation.
just don't
you
accept
mean the drag queens?
it. We're-
Something like that.
we're-
I know of a particular boys and girls clubs
That's why I said I didn't want to throw it out.
use restricted funds from something else and they were closed. In a
You
matter
don't
of,
wanna mess with restricted funds.
in less than a year, they were gone.
Yeah,
After we get operational and we're funded, I think then everything can just be done through one budget using line items.
Yeah.
And we can have a separate account for our facility and everything's going to the building of, well, either the modulars or ideally we get some land and start building, so we're not our money, but that's another issue. I think we can get through this year
So
clean and then it'll all go under one budget.
if this board wants to have some control on the, what is called now the foundation dollars, we don't need that foundation in existence. What we need is, you know, everything done by earmark where the money goes, by creating the proper accounts, and if these public funds, grants, private, and so on.
Yep.
We can do it all in one in-house, basically, you know, we have an accountant to do it and
So the question then is Cam doing it or Mr. Paris or somebody else?
Cam, I don't know, Brandon, you can probably answer, but my understanding is Cam's not touching anything but the operational account.
Right, so that's what we need to have, again, this is another conversation when we can have this with facts, not just surmising. Cam is responsible for the operational dollars using the chart of accounts for the state money,
public money.
public money.
Public money.
Donation money will be handled using QuickBooks. And that's the question mark, who's going to keep that? Do we want Cam to do it, or do we want to have a different, that's the question is, how is the donation money going to be transferred into the operational money? And so that's the exact question we need to have, just, and then keep it that donation, and so maybe again, not using the word foundation, but donation money, operation money, two accounts.
I think we need to probably set up a conference call, maybe with Hank and Brandon and myself and anyone else. And with Ron.
That's you.
So we're gonna have a subcommittee of you three that'll report back at the next meeting. Of whatever the best option is for use of donated funds, who's gonna oversee it? Are we hiring
Okay.
an accountant, or is that just directly under our treasurer's supervision of that? I know in our application, there were line items that we put in that, the school raised funds. those items in there, but I don't know if that's. Because we had to show that, right, to see
Right.
what funds are in for stuff.
Right.
But it seems to me like it's usable for operations.
Yes.
The SPCSA is looking at it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the funds that are in the credit union are available to the school at this point. Like you said, if you did something differently and created a foundation, and maybe we create a foundation and that's where we have this big campaign to build a building down the road,
That's
and that would be something
later.
totally separate, or whatever, but I think if we could talk to Ron and just, I'm sure he's dealt with this and.
Yeah.
And so we're
Best
not,
practices. So we-
yeah.
And I just want to just because Lisa and I went through this so much, I just want to read to you, I mean, I think that we would be prudent to still have Mark as an accountant of record or whoever you want, I don't care, but since he's willing to do it pro bono, I think that's a pretty nice option, right? And it specifically says here that the treasurer shall not individually have the authority to give directives to school leader or any staff or faculty of school, nor shall the treasurer be given authority on behalf of the corporation or school. The treasurer shall have other powers and perform such other duties as may be prescribed by the board from time to time. But it limits all of our control, whether you're the secretary, the president, the treasurer, or the vice president.
Well, they use a check and balance, but I'm just not sure why adding that, what that does.
Well, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that I think that, I mean, I don't care one way or the other, how we provide the checks and balances, but again, that was what Katie said very vehemently this morning, that, so but Hank has verbalized that he would like that option, so I'm just saying that there's provisions in these bylaws.
Without the existence of a foundation, all of the funds, public, private fundraisers, whatever, are in one pot. And then this board decides by appointing some either firm to manage those or an in-house accountant to do so. But at the end, the responsibility of those funds falls on this board.
Right, so I think.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah,
If I can just add, for whoever is going to be the 3 people on that committee, can we see what EIAA has done as well? They just did a, capital campaign and they get donations and all the things. So can we ask them?
Good idea.
yep, I think that's a good option. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 people that are gonna kind of figure that out and look back at what the best
Do you
option.
need an action on that, or is that just a directive or a
No,
guidance? I
I'm
don't.
appointing those 3 as the subcommittee.
Sounds good.
Mark Parrish being the community at large member of the committee.
Okay, so we'll get together.
And option B on that's fundraising, so kind of think about that as well. I mean, we won't appoint a fundraising committee at this point until we figure out where the money's gonna go and who would be spearheading that kind of a thing.
And specifically, oh, go ahead, Joe, sorry.
No,
Well, specifically ask, because I actually like the safeguard of Mark as well, like, we're a new board, this is a new endeavor, and to have a local person who's done school auditing and has been directly involved in this since the beginning, I like the idea, is there a way to bring him in as a safeguard, even if they have to meet together to do it, just ask that specifically from Ron and from EIAA, because I like that as well. Him continue to be involved in some capacity. I'm sure there's a way to do it.
yeah, and I think there's a way to hire.
Yeah, just a safeguard.
I think that's an issue. I mean, he's not on the board. We're not paying them, you are, but you just recuse from voting on any of those. I think when I read the bylaws, I think that's how it reads, but maybe if you guys could kind of look into that part as well. Any other discussion on the financial part? I think we have a lot of questions.
So we're tabling the fundraising committee, Joe, is that right?
Yeah, I think so, until we have those other.
Yeah, but I think that's something that we need to, the fundraising needs to happen sooner than later. I mean, obviously, we need these questions answered, but I still think we need to all be involved in trying to get more funds from the board. And, I mean, I know there's that list out there. And I don't think all the people on that list that we made way back when have all been contacted. And we have new people, Mr. Marcus, that maybe he's got deep connections to rich people that want to donate. So, I mean, you know, the more people you can bring into the fundraising, I think the better, but I mean, I have no problem tabling it now, but I don't want to table it till next school year starts.
No, it'll be.
Right.
And one of the reasons I'm tabling it
Yes,
is if we end up having to do a foundation, that's
Right.
different than a committee based on
Right.
it here.
Yeah.
Right, so that's my hesitation of
Hand in hand.
moving forward on that right now.
Mark, but can you make sure you sign in and can you just say your name and position for the recording, just so?
Mark Paris, CPA from McMullen McBean and Company.
Founding board member.
Former founding board member,
Interested public.
interested public.
Perfect. Just wanted to-
He moved his public comment to when he arrived.
Thank you. Just make sure you-
It's good to have input from the public. Okay. So we're down to number 8, old business.
Hey,
That was under.
Yep, review application, admission and enrollment policy with focus on weighted lottery concepts. We have that in our packet.
yep, it should be next in your packet.
After the school.
After the school data report. I spent some time working on this, trying to get the details into it. So it goes through the general process, some definitions, separating admission, application, enrollment. And then you all had specific questions on the weighted lottery. So I had a conversation with both Katie Broughton at SBCSA and Paula at Founders, who is their registrar. And the instruction from Katie Broughton was, we, in our founding application, we stated we would have a weighted lottery, and this is what we said, this table on page 4, I think it is. Page 4 is what we stated in our application. So if we deviate from this, we have to go through a process with SPCSA. So this is how I read it. English language learner, homelessness, and foster care were the 3 weighted categories in our application. And in the needs assessment, to meet the needs assessment.
So we didn't have special.
So for year 1, and we just have to do 1 year at a time. So for year 1, this is what we said we were going to do. And if we stay true to this, then we have done what we said we were going to do. And this is what the weighted lottery would look like.
The NRS specifies there's a whole list of things that you can use, of subgroups that you can use to weight. One of them, for example, are students within 2 miles radius of the school. You could give them a weight. There's some other ones listed in there. But that wasn't what we had. But I thought the email you had, one of them left off EL. It was just homeless and foster. But in here, you have EL.
Yeah, this is what I
Just-
got from our
That was
application.
our intent. And then one thing I brought up to Brandon was when I looked through the state's lottery, training. Prior to the lottery, it shows that you don't ask for. Whether they're EL, homeless or foster, and that's confusing to me.
I think you can't discriminate on those.
It said the things you ask for. I don't know, I said it in my email too. I
Yeah.
Copied it out of that.
Yeah, and we weren't, the hard part is those are just slides, so it's hard to know what they were saying around it. But from the conversations I've had, the application is very simple. But you can ask additional information you can request additional information so you can start planning for your student population.
Well, to me, if we're gonna wait, then we have to have the information that they are an EL or homeless or foster. So in the application phase, you have to have that to get.
Yes, for those 3 categories, they need to show documentation to earn that second ticket.
But in their training, it says you just get their name, date of birth, and then and after the lottery, it says specifically, that's when you ask for EL. Homeless.
Yeah, that I saw that too, and I don't know, because I don't know what exactly that flow of the slides that.
Yeah, so it confused me because how you did it, I think it's how it's supposed to be done,
I think so.
but their training was.
Well, that slide that you're referring to was just talking about application.
Right.
And maybe that was like, but if you're doing a lottery or you're setting up for a lottery, I don't know. I can't explain that, but so again, I spoke with Katie and she said, do what you said you were going to do in your application. So I reread the application word for word, and this is what we said we were going to do in our application. And so this is what was approved by the state. So yes, to answer Joe's question, on the application, they have to present documentation as a English learner, homeless student, or foster care, or they do not earn the second ticket. If they check the box but don't have the documentation, they only get 1 ticket, and that's the registrar's responsibility to document all of that for each application. So that's it, and that's kind of the details of the weighted lottery system for us for year 1.
So one thing I think has to be captured in here, and I'm not sure where, and I read through this whole thing, and I'm thinking it's right here on page 5. Once we do the lottery, we would start with, what case for the first student. So I'm not sure how you capture this, but I have a whole bunch of kids as a scenario. My 3rd grade child gets approved as a traditional student. Now I have a 1st grader and a kindergartner. I personally do. Somehow we have to capture that they're going to be included in
All the siblings.
They're
Correct,
not.
right.
They're not. The
If space is
sibling
available.
portion is only a sibling of one that meets the priority enrollment status, if you read it. Because that confused me too, and I read back through it.
we put that in our application. If the older student is in, then we're going to absorb the younger student.
This doesn't reflect that. So-
Right, that's where I think it's on this
So
page.
Lisa is a board member and she has a child.
She's a good example. She has a second.
So she has a child, so that's a priority, it's called a priority student on page 4 of this. Her other child is automatically enrolled. The way this is written. Now,
I'm just a
so as a
traditional
parent,
Yeah.
so me as an example, I'm a grandparent. So my grandkids have no priority enrollment.
Correct.
My son enrolls one of his kids in here. And they're chosen. His other one gets kicked out during the lottery. They aren't automatically put in because he's not a priority student. That's the way I read it.
However, in our application, because that's too hard on a family, we captured that if, a parent comes in as a traditional and they're in 2nd grade and they're pulled in, that's where the challenge was. It's like, how do we do this? If my child gets pulled in as a 2nd grader, but now there's a 3rd grader, they have a 3rd grader who didn't make it into the lottery and a kindergartner.
Yeah.
How do we account for that on here? Because you can't have them going to 3 different schools. It doesn't work.
But they will.
So how I understand it is the more siblings in a family, the more chance that one of them is going to get pulled.
Correct.
The sibling that's pulled, so we pull sibling A. On our spreadsheet, if there's space for sibling B, C, and D, they automatically go in.
Correct.
If that for sibling B, let's say that grade is full,
Mm-hmm.
then we can't kick someone else off, but there's a special wait list for siblings.
Got it.
So 3 of the 4 children would get in. You just say that's the luck of the draw. That's how it happens. Then as soon as a space opens in that class that child that didn't get in,
Mhm.
that sibling lottery for just siblings happens. Somebody comes
Which
in.
makes sense, because not everybody will bring back their packet, and here it comes. However, it's not captured in.
Okay, so I need to capture siblings.
I believe so, just to keep it clean. I don't think it's gonna become a huge issue, but
I don't think we're still clear. So the waiting list is a priority list as well of starting with siblings.
So there's 2 waiting lists. There's a waiting list and then there's a sibling waiting list. And the siblings go first before the general waiting list. Yes.
But there isn't just one, so we run the kindergartners and, Bob gets,
Mhm.
Bob's brother's in first grade.
He's in.
Bob, no, he's not on the prior, not according to this. Now, in our application, we talked about. I
Well,
don't
that's
have
what, so we need to,
about
we
that.
can clarify. That's what I think Amy's saying.
Yeah,
We need to
let's
clarify
clean
the
that up.
siblings in here.
we had it all around.
You're saying that,
Mhm.
so then where do you start? You start with kindergarten and then any siblings that they have get now put in priority?
Mhm.
And then you draw first, or do you start at third?
It's what we're.
So let's say we draw
specify.
kindergarten and Bob doesn't get drawn. You go down, you get to third grade and their brother gets in third grade. Now you go back to kindergarten and put Bob in and kick somebody off.
No, you don't kick people off.
So how?
It gets so that Bob goes on a special sibling waiting list. That's just the way it is, because I talked with the founders, Paula and I we talked a lot. She showed me all kinds of examples of how she's done it. And it's all, so unfortunately, sometimes it happens that families get split because we can't, once a child is selected and put in, they don't come off that list. A sibling only has priority when there's space in the classroom.
So, because if there's no, lottery for that grade level.
Correct.
So that, but
Or it's
there is
filled by the
lottery,
lottery.
they're out unless they get drawn.
And maybe we can come up with, and I'm sure it's already been figured out with other schools, we can look at, we just need to capture it in here, but maybe you only draw to 90%. And then you account for siblings, and then you
You
do the
account for
last
siblings
10%.
as you go.
Yeah,
The whole time you're going, it's very complicated.
I mean, they have a system in place and it's probably a solid one, we just need to lock it.
I look at that idea of drawing 90.
I actually do.
There's a statute on it. I read the statute. So we need to look at the statute.
We're confused.
But I read it. Well, it's specified in the rest. The only siblings are those that are automatically allowed in are those of priority enrolled students. And that's the list. Currently enrolled and returning, child of NCAA board member, child of full-time staff or faculty, sibling of priority enrolled student.
Right.
That's under NRS. So just any other siblings. Those,
Yeah.
if you get.
In our application, we account for that though, because of that exact thing, in our application, and actually we talked with Ron about it, and they do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not a priority,
It's not a priority.
it's just once my third graders.
It's our policy.
My kindergarten also, we put it into our application and it matched with founders.
Yeah.
That's how.
It's
It does not match, doesn't match with NRS.
No, it's just our policy.
So it's different.
It's
So
not-
priority is different than the lottery. Priority is, I think it's two different admission selections. The priority is the priority, done. Then now you're working with only lottery stuff, which has nothing to do with priority. Priority is done. You don't go back and change anything for priority. So NRS, those are the 4 from NRS. Then you have this whole other thing with siblings, but with our policy, there's a sibling step that's happening.
Yeah, it's in our application too.
Show me in here where it says the part about siblings.
I don't, that's what Amy's saying.
That's not
clear
captured
yet.
yet.
We have to clarify it.
So what I want to see is, NRS, before we vote on this.
Okay.
Well, that this matches the NRS for siblings.
Mhm.
Right now it does not.
Yeah, I have the NRS here in my, well, let's not do it now.
It's in our application.
We can table this, we don't have to approve this, we can approve this next month or next meeting.
Yep.
This is all good discussion, so we'll just wait and we'll clarify. So now the issue clarification is siblings. We're good with
Siblings of
weighted, now we need
Traditional
siblings.
students.
Okay, siblings of traditional students.
The system, how do they account for that?
Because if the intent is to not split families, we have to make sure we're not violating NRS.
Absolutely. But the truth, and that's the truth, is families will be split. There is a we cannot say we will not split families. That's not, we cannot say that.
But
We will do our
try to
best
account
to,
for
we
it.
will try our best.
We did, as Amy said, when we write the application, I think we all felt that we weren't going to split families. Right? I mean, it wasn't
Well,
down.
short of a fifth or sixth grader, but yeah,
Well, that's the hope. I mean,
Yeah.
the hope is that we don't, but the truth is,
it could happen.
it could happen, but we will do everything in our power not to.
Yeah.
If there's space, it's all dependent on the space in the available seats.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I, have it in my head is because I built the spreadsheet to create the lottery. And I built it with NRS statute in mind so that it all worked.
Mhm.
And if we have to do, if we do. I mean, if it's the pleasure of the group is we don't want to split a family. And a sibling gets put in and we have to account for that, but okay, now somebody's gonna get bumped off. So we'd have to figure out where do you start and where does it end, because it may not.
Right. Yeah, that's where I think Ron said he would come down and help with the lottery and they've got all that accounted for.
Yeah.
Well, assuming it works with NRS, like Amy said, you draw to 90%, then you account for siblings and then draw for whatever. the
But
rest.
siblings are accounted for the entire time. You don't wait to count for siblings. So you draw your first kindergarten. Founder starts with counting kindergartens. You start drawing. Kindergarten has a sibling. All right, there's a seat in first grade. There's a seat in third grade. Put in. You go to your next one. Oh, okay, Now you go to third grade. That kid's already accounted for. They come out, right? Because they've gotten put in by a sibling. So the siblings are happening in real time.
Only one
Right.
direction though, not both ways. So like,
A third grader who the first grader didn't
yes,
make it.
exactly.
That's
But if
on a
you
waiting
only-
list.
If you only draw to 90%, then that person gets slotted in.
But at some point, no matter what, the very last person you could draw now has 7 siblings. You're not gonna go kick out, you can't go back and kick out 7
No, you
siblings.
can't kick anybody out, but if you leave a little bit of space there, you have that buffer, you fill it out. And yes, it's possible families could still get split, but we're.
Yeah, you can't do it 90%.
Yeah, because no matter what, no matter if, so, yeah, I mean, I think the policy we want to write is that with as much as possible, we will honor siblings. However, there may be the chance that a family is split. However, that sibling now goes on a special wait list that's siblings only. So they right there have a higher probability of coming in as soon as a seat is open. Because you go to siblings first and then the general list. So we're still trying to keep families together.
So why can't we do a 90% draw first?
There isn't anything that allows for that.
Probably because the weighted
So
enrollment.
what our discussion here is minimal compared to what's going to be with a parent sitting in here saying, it doesn't say that.
Well, that's what we need to clarify.
So it's got to, because they're going to say, well, my kid got in, my other one should get in.
Right.
And and we need to say, we will start at kindergarten.
Yeah, we'll
If
say-
we know there's a sibling that has an application in, and we draw this one, then that one goes on the list for the sibling.
Yeah.
And then we go to the next grade, and then we go to the next grade.
And in this,
If one gets drawn here and their sibling was back here and didn't get drawn out, that sibling goes on waiting list at the top of the waiting list.
Yeah.
So that there's a list there that shows, and that has to be, because man, when they come,
yeah, we'll keep working on it. And documentation for the parent then, and to help them understand, like, all of that's captured in the spreadsheet. Like Paula can tell you exactly when this child was pulled, who got set with that child, like that's that's the registrar, because they have to document all that. So yes, we can help the parent understand this is why the situation and where you're at and the weight, all that.
And I feel like the quality of the school, if the quality of our school is high enough, parents will bite the bullet and hopefully get their child in the next year, that they'll allow that split to happen because they want their kids here so much, which I think happens a lot with high quality charter schools.
Yeah.
And it has to reflect not the opening year only, but the next year. So now we have student enrollment, we have student body. Now that group moves in, that's priority enrollment. So they're here. Now they have sibling coming in and caring, right?
That
So
would be
that's a
fine.
priority.
Yep.
Now, if we start at kindergarten, they already have one in there. That needs to also be, which I don't see that in here.
So that means that if I have two kids, one who gets selected, one who does not, gets on a wait list or whatever, but doesn't get in, that means that that sibling who did not get in is guaranteed a spot the next year. Based on what this policy
If
says.
they're on, right? They're not guaranteed a spot.
If there's an opening in that grade.
If there's an opening, they would be.
They're on the waiting list and there's an opening, and if they're the first one on the waiting list.
But waiting lists don't transfer year to year. That's another, waiting lists start over each year.
Find that page.
So in lottery, it's not for an individual student, but it's for the individual student and the sibling.
The number is full for an individual student, yes, but if there is siblings attached to that student.
Let me go back to this table on page. So, priority enrolled students, seat reserved. That means they get in, right? And, sibling of a priority enrolled student, which is defined as a currently enrolled and returning student is priority. So if one of my kids is already in here, the other one did not get selected by this, that means the one who did not get selected becomes priority the following year.
The following year.
The following year, yes.
That's, yeah,
That's
that's, I think you read that right. Because it is under sibling of priority enrolled
They're currently enrolled and returning.
and priority of students are.
you.
So yeah, I would interpret it that way.
So,
Okay, we just need it captured. Students.
yeah, I'll keep working on it.
No, that. It's gonna be fun, right? Okay, so sorry, this is on my brain. Apologize, but just like Hank said, all right, so yeah, as a kid that's in the school, let's say they're in third grade and they roll the fourth. They have a sibling that didn't get in. They're gonna be in second grade. Second grade was already full, and now they're a priority enrolled student. Do they bump one of those out?
So, okay, this is interesting, a whole nother conversation we haven't had, but we will have maybe at the next meeting. We are allowed to have 10% plus or minus 10% of the 113 for year one. So we can have classes that have 26 or 27. So in that case, that fourth grade may become, instead of 25, it may be a 26 class. Because we're going to accommodate what we say we're going to do, and then we just bring out, we can run up to 10% over what our enrollment is, and that's why you might have to have that wiggle room. So some classes will be bigger,
Plus you have attrition, you have.
plus someone's gonna leave and not come
95%.
back. I mean, we can't go too crazy about all this, because the truth is, all this talking, the scenario that actually happens isn't even gonna be what we talked about.
Probably not.
So what we need to do is write the policy, trust that we have it, and then do our darndest. We follow that policy to the letter, and then if something comes up and we're like, "Ugh," then we update our policy, we recognize where we had a shortcoming, right? Because we don't know. I mean, like I said. So, but I hear what you're saying. We'll definitely clarify where we know there are gaps now. And then year two, we'll tackle those problems when we get there.
So is this, I mean, Founders has,
A lot of this is straight out of Founders. but I'll go back and fine tooth comb it with the siblings
Yeah.
specifically, and I'll look at our application because the word, again, the word from Katie Broughton is do what you said you were going to do in your application.
Yeah, I get that on the,
So I'll go double check.
what the number of tickets, and we didn't have anything in there in the application about number of tickets or anything like that. We just said it would be waived. But we didn't have anything about it will get to this group. Will get
They didn't
to-
specify the number, I just said one more, figured one more is weighted.
That's what you do.
And then, did you look at EIA's lottery policy? Have you seen
I
that?
have not seen theirs.
We might want to look at that.
No, still not in.
They might have the language in there.
Okay, I'll find out. Looks good. Okay, we'll keep working on it. I know, I spent 2 hours with Paula and my head was spinning. I was like, holy moly. There's a lot to this.
Yeah, and I know, talking to EIA, and it's a rough deal going through this. Can't be, I mean, we may not need. we might only-
It's so hard to say.
We may not need it in
Hard to say.
all, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're good there.
Okay.
That was fun.
Fun's the right word, but let's go.
Okay.
Take a 10-minute break. Cause I need to stand up. That's right, yes.
We got a timer.
5-minute break.
5 minutes?
We'll do 5 minutes.
All right, 5-minute break, everyone.
See, okay, so we discussed number 8, application admission enrollment policy. That's going to come back with some updates on that. And then the lottery is held, what was the date on that again?
March 28th.
Okay. All right, review updated logo crest.
Okay, so that's the next page in your book. So we're working with the graphic designer at PNCC. I took all of your comments and we first talked about the sagebrush, but that's not easily reproducible and it's too detailed. So with the desire to have a one-size-fits-all, we brainstormed other Nevada concepts that are suitable for printing. We came up with mountains. We've talked about Battleborn, but of course with Battleborn Youth Challenge Academy, we thought that's going to be too confusing. So we stuck with the mountains. And here's 2 different options. We also listened, one of the comments was to use NCA initials, and then as we grow, we can add in the specific locations. So that was considered in the new offerings. All 3 of these logos can easily have the vertical and horizontal, so I only showed you one aspect of that. And then talking with the other charter school or Treasure Valley and Founders, they actually have 2 logos. They have the academic logo, which is on all of their uniforms and which is used for specific, like all school, general school things. And then they do have their athletic mascot, which is what they use only when it's related to athletics. And so it's very important to those schools that academics and athletics are separate in that regard. It's not unified like a typical public school, maybe a little more unified in athletics and academics. So I just put that out there. So I provided 3 examples using mountains as maybe our Nevada centric item that will allow us to have good printing on paper and uniforms and everything else. And then I listed on the second page, the back side of that page are the mascot considerations, because I also heard that concern of how we tie all this in. So I put all of the mascots for the local Elko County schools so that we don't obviously have the same one. Some of them, like West Wendover, I wasn't 100% sure what they were. I couldn't quite determine that.
Wolverines.
It's maybe Wolverines. And then I did more research on classical school mascots, and that's what's listed, like the owl, the griffin. And then I was just brainstorming some ideas for the mascot for NCAE, tying it to historical or economic events, tying it to wildlife. And then I do think there's value in our NCAE family. So after enrollment, picking the mascot, I like the idea of having an academic logo and then we'll figure out the mascot. Because I think it would be cool that our first class and our first NCAE family has a role in picking that mascot. But I think we need to create the logo, and because every time we keep using this, we're just reinforcing this. And we know the problems with that. So, or the challenges, I should say. So that's my thinking is we can get to an academic logo that's all things academic, and then we'll work on the mascot with our families.
That idea.
But I give you this to start thinking because we will present to the families 3 options. We're not going to open it up quite that wide. But so start thinking and paying attention to like what's around us and what might work well. So back to the academic logo, if we're open to this concept, there are 3 new ones, so we can talk about what we like and what we don't like and continue to develop out this idea of an all encompassing logo.
So I wanted to suggest, I would rather have NV. Because we are going to be in Nevada, when we walk around with our logos on, staff, board, administrator, we want people to know it's Nevada. So looking at number 3 with the Ruby Mountains in the background, if you had an NV on there with the understanding underneath, you're going to have Nevada Classical Academy OCO on any kind of I should have brought my little jacket that I always wear for my own job. But the NV, everybody knows it's Nevada. No matter where you go, when you're in North Carolina, they know you're from Nevada. They see the NV, and then you'll have embroidered underneath Nevada, or around whatever. I like those mountains better than I like the kind of generic sun.
I like the mountains.
They look like the rubies, but I want the Nevada.
Okay, so
The NCA means nothing. I don't know if that's North Carolina Academy. I don't know what that means.
So if I'm understanding, we want to move forward with the mountains of option 3 and replace the NCA with NV.
That's just my.
Not yet.
Okay, yeah, that's one suggestion. Okay.
Others?
Similar, that's good.
So I had a question, are we using the symbol alone? Are we using, the symbol with the words Nevada Classical Academy under it? You know, when I look at this, okay, so we have it here, and then we always have it,
It'll be like that.
so it'll be arranged this way.
Well, so the one that you see on the screen would be for like our coats, our clothing, uniforms.
With the words under it.
Yes, with the, exactly as it's shown there.
That's typical with a jacket. You have a nice emblem, and then underneath it has this.
And then on letterhead and on written things, you would have that the same, the graphic is the same, but now it's oriented like just like our current one. So you have both, just like we currently now have both for what we have. So when you need it to be vertical aligned, you have that option, or horizontal aligned, but it's the same, it's just the orientation that's changing.
My only suggestion is to get rid of NCA and just put NV.
Yes.
NCA doesn't tell you where we are, what we are.
And I realize that this would be, I think we need the coloring to be green, not blue, because our colors are green and silver. Anyway, that's okay, so green.
Yeah, when I'm looking at it on the screen there, I can't tell what that symbol even looks like.
If you look on this banner, let me come up and flip up this.
No, I was just saying,
It's
you
big.
know, our last time we talked about simplicity
Mhm.
and making it visually attractive and things. And if it's, to me, there's a lot of dark stuff around in that, and it's not very reproducible to where it's readable.
Could we put MV in more like the white font?
Yeah, like that.
Something, well, you have this dark band around those mountains. Do we need that shield? Or just have the mountains?
We can try it.
I'm just trying to simplify.
Okay.
You have a professional look at that, but you had to blow that thing way up on that piece of paper for us to be able to see it, and that's on a computer screen. This one here that's printed, it's just not.
Okay, so what are our colors for the school supposed to be again?
Green and silver.
Green and silver, so, so this third option, can the NV be in silver instead of green?
Backdrop.
Would that
Back
make
to
it-
green.
Would that make it stand out more?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
can-
I mean, this,
Yeah,
So we want to work, we can work with option 3 and now I can dive into option 3. Like if we know we like those mountains,
We like those mountains.
now we can
Just
just.
correct.
I like that. I like that
Okay,
design, I mean, that.
okay.
so let's just talk about, so the mountains. Option 3, is that acceptable?
I like the mountains.
Okay, so the mountains on that,
Look like a-
NV versus NCA,
Okay.
is that acceptable?
Envy.
Okay. Yeah, because when I see NCA, I think Nevada Elements Association.
North Carolina.
Good
something
point,
like
good
that.
point.
That's one reason I like these, yeah.
I like the envy, I like that.
And then when we move to Carlin or anything else.
And then colors, I mean, to me, I think there's too much
Too dark.
Okay.
with that band around it, the thickness of the band or something, it's.
Maybe stick.
You know, on
that.
on the original, there's just a white outline.
Thinner, a thinner. out.
Very narrow border, that might work.
Do we need that border at all?
I don't think you need it at all, but we
Okay.
may have to just see it.
But that's exactly what this is, right? And if we just did that
It's more
little
like that.
white part border there, then instead of that,
Thickness, yeah.
you know, that whole big green band around there.
I see what you're saying.
And have the green be behind the NV. instead of blue. Yeah, that would nice.
Personally, I like the shape of the original shield.
Me too. And-
Versus the circle?
No,
this
versus,
shield.
Oh, you want the original shield, okay.
Yeah.
The shield.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure why they,
Got rid of it.
I mean, it was not professionally done and possibly not.
Yeah, I don't know why it went
Police
to this.
explained that to us, that it wasn't.
I do like the mountains, though. Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Look like the rubies to me.
Okay.
The original shield is nice.
I like the original.
Okay,
And we go
great
here.
comment.
Not close to that without the,
Yeah,
So, okay, we're getting there, guys. Good work.
I just go back to
Stay tuned.
Fernando saying, you know, Nike. just
Simple.
Check, simplified, and recognizable.
so
All right, I will bring back more revisions.
And with the colors that.
Yeah,
Dark green and silver and white.
Unless that's it, because if it is, then it doesn't print well. Know what I mean?
Yeah, compared to like that pops.
That prints pretty well compared to that one.
Why? I couldn't, is it because of the colors it cannot be produced? Is that what it was?
There's something about.
Well, the
Yeah,
sage,
you have-
it's actually the sagebrush is what's the
I
problem.
understand that because that's pretty detailed.
But even the NV on there has a real classical look to it versus this is kind of just a shadow, you know, like an old, look at our old NV.
Yeah,
It has a classical look. This is just a real generic fat. It's,
But I think that's like when that
mhm.
is printed, back to kind of Joe's thing, when it gets too small, you lose that.
You do lose probably.
I mean, because that's quite a big, I never noticed that it had those lines through until I saw it on this.
Yeah,
You don't, you just see that.
you go to embroider that on a shirt, what's,
yeah. But that's still a clear, even if it's filled in, it's more classical looking and just a fat.
I think there's a problem with having multiple versions of the logo, right? On something big like this, we can get that fidelity.
That's
We
right.
use it, we embroider it, fine, you go to a slightly simpler. And I mean, most embroider places, they'll digitize that logo and they'll make the necessary changes.
That looks nice on this banner to keep it with that really neat, almost,
yeah, I'm assuming you know, we get a mascot. And you just replace this shield with the mascot picture and then the mascot.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, to the side.
I like your rolling on.
For sports.
For sports, yeah,
Yeah.
for sports, right. Yeah. Okay,
I do think it's neat to have the family involved, because we're not gonna have athletics for a few years anyway. We have plenty of time to pick our mascot.
yeah,
Yeah, and I agree that, the families, the students should vote. I still have students come up to me all the time. Hey, that was cool. We got to pick the mascot.
yeah, we want them to own it.
And
Yeah.
they still do.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to do that.
Okay, so I will, thank you. Awesome, great comments. We're getting there, so thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
moving on to new business report regarding back office support.
Okay, I don't have anything written formally on this because it all happened. But let me just give you a quick update. So while at FCLA Founders, I spent the day in their business office. And so these are my notes. I just want to show you. So I just learned so much, but here's the general, we went through the process from beginning, like an employee needs, like for purchase request, I have all these details of how it happens, who approves, where it goes. As we add staff, we'll be able to make sure that we have different people approving, like one person ordering, one person receiving, one person approving the check, right? Like these are all very important things that we can't do right now because there's only one of us, but we'll get there. And I learned a lot about auditing and setting up our binders and everything. So we have electronic, for example, we have electronic copies of all our receipts, and then we have the receipts in the binders. So when the auditor comes, we can pull it either way and search it. So I learned all of these of how Founders does it, along with spending the other half of the day with the registrar, and the same thing, the paper trail, so that we can show how all of this connects together.
So back office support helps with registering?
No, but that's just part of the whole paper trail. I like the importance of having the paper
And it's
trail.
based on students, so they have to have that
Yes.
connection.
And so when we create this budget, and again, this is a conversation we'll have at length at our next meeting or when we agendize it. Yeah, the student, tracking the students and the enrollment number relative to our budget. And we'll attach all that together. So CAM, the back office, basically what will happen is we will do our ordering. And then CAM will purchase a scanner. You scan everything in, it goes into the software that's called Sage Intacct. It loads up, they pick it up down in Las Vegas. They check all the accounting. So we will practice assigning accounting codes to everything. And then Colleen will be checking all of those codes. So everything gets put in the right place in the chart of accounts. And then Ron Fick will approve it. Then Colleen approves it. And then it gets paid. That's like for purchasable things. For payroll, we'll use the platform called Paylocity. And so we being employees will clock in and clock out each day on our phones. And what's interesting is we create a geo fence around our building. So you can't clock in at home, or like we track where clocking in is happening. And then Colleen will track all of that, and she's working on setting up PERS right now and getting our PERS account set up and all of that.
So, the check-in thing, because they're salaried employees, teachers, right?
Mhm.
So I'm sick. So it's on that, I haven't seen that app, but I'm assuming that if I am not in this fence, I'm outside of it and I check, there's options to say sick leave, personal leave,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
So-
then that codes it
Yeah.
That's that, okay.
And we'll still have paper copies. So the other thing they handed me, I have a stack of physical papers that will create our forms. And one, so yeah, those, so like the good old days where you fill out the form and put that, we would again upload that into Paylocity. So there's a document, and then Colleen will be checking, like, did so-and-so really show up or not show up? And there's a cool thing on Paylocity, and again, it won't be as big a deal when there's only 5 of us in the building, because I'll recognize if somebody is missing. But you know, when we get to hundreds and you can easily miss, she can click on Paylocity and instantly see who's where, and where they've checked in and who's like in the building. And that's also good for safety, right? So if something happens, they know exactly who's in and who's not. So I think there's a lot of power to this, and I think it's going to be wonderful to have their support. We just need to start using them, because they're billing us and we haven't used them yet. So we need to really start utilizing this service.
So that's, we're not paying a separate fee to Paylocity, we're just as part of our backdrop support payment to.
There's like a subscription fee that's included.
Which we
In
don't
addition
need this year.
to-
We wouldn't
So that's in
really
addition
use
to
that.
what we're paying, the backup.
That should not bill until next year when we have, well, I guess you're gonna have you and.
Yeah, one person another.
Okay.
It's good practice.
Yeah.
We'll get good at
We'll go right
using
now,
this.
maybe at least.
So then the paper stuff, did we keep the fireproof file cabinets over here, or do we have to purchase those?
I know we have one small fireproof one, for sure. I don't know if the other ones are fireproof or not.
That's all gonna have to be stored somewhere like that.
Right.
Is that what you can use that little, where that was before, that little storeroom?
Yeah.
Where the office was?
Yeah.
Down here?
We'll continue to use that as our records room.
Very good.
So regarding this Paylocity app, do we have a contingency? Because there's a surprisingly large number of people in this community who don't have smartphones. And I'd hate for us to not be able to hire somebody or to run into a conflict with an otherwise good employee.
Yeah.
over That.
Well, they can log in.
They can log in
come
through their
and log
computer
in.
too. Yeah, absolutely. And it's cute because Joe, like kind of what you're alluding to, I think, is teachers aren't used to logging in, right? I mean, we don't punch cards. And so on every classroom door on their light switch is a sticky note that says log out. Because they've forgotten to do that. It's a learning process, right? To learn that we have to clock in and clock out, because that's not typically how education works, at least on the salary
No,
side.
to me, the only thing that it's useful for is safety.
And that's for sure. I think that's the intent for the
Cause you know,
bigger
there's-
schools.
when they're being paid a salary, if they're not there, you've already arranged for a substitute or they've contacted you.
Yeah.
So this is done pretty easily.
Yeah, so I think, so we'll keep developing our relationship with CAM, but similar to the founders, people, I mean, they're just so willing to help us. So we're thankful for that.
Very good.
I have a question. Is it an association of charter schools or something like that? Okay.
Like a national
Yeah.
Yeah,
association.
there's a national.
Okay, what, are we asking them for resources or no?
I have not yet. I've been starting to follow them and figure out, and Lisa and I had talked about that, joining, like we need to get joined up and figure out what that looks like and what that means. So yeah, I'll write it on my notes though.
Is there a state group too? Well, we have the SPCSA, but there's a charter school
I don't know if I know a state
or
one.
community of some sort.
Do they, I'm just out of curiosity, do they provide ability to grants, that
The
they
national
might
one?
have, or, you know, like, I'm just thinking in the nonprofit sector, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls, because they all have national organizations and they have access to grants through them and stuff like that, and,
Mhm. Yes, this one does, and like I attended a webinar, can't remember what it was on, but yeah, they have lots of training and lots of support.
that is very, you know, that's something that we should look into it. The resources is
Mhm. Gotcha.
as much resources that we can have.
Yes. Great, thank you, yeah, got that.
There are a couple people, that will be interested in this, in what we do,
Mhm.
and they have resources.
Yes.
Just when we are ready to approach him, we need to select the
Okay.
group of people, to very carefully approach him.
All right, so that's my report from Cam. Any other questions?
You also have
The bills you might wanna.
Oh, so we received the invoices to pay for Cam for September and October, because that's what the contract was signed for. And they're a total of $10,000. Again, that's the fee for Cam plus the subscriptions for the Sage Intact and the Paylocity.
So do we need to agendize to start paying bills.
Actually, we'll.
It can go through
we'll
the
have to take-
center.
Take those to Hank tomorrow because we're gonna have to. Probably submit those before we.
And a new contract, so Cam created the contract the founding board signed was until December 31 of 2024. So a new contract with Cam will be coming January 1 that this board will entertain.
Okay, so that will still be paid through.
That's paid through the
Then we'll
foundation.
need on here, on our agenda, we'll need to have a section for paying bills.
We'll have to,
Sent, should be formal.
you'll have to list out what the bills are for the month.
Starting January. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we expect that price to stay the same, $5,000 a month?
It's supposed to be $3,700 a month. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah, so new contract that this board will be responsible for, because the founding board signed the other one.
and then we'll just need in our financial that we approve payments of bills and.
Well, then, I'm assuming they can't pay the bills until we prove, they can't just be paying stuff.
Right, that's part of the process.
I'm wondering though, my understanding is that the whole board doesn't have to pay for those bills.
Not the operational. I think we just alert,
I
we
think
tell you that they've been paid.
Brenda looks at the bills as the school leader. And she approves them and then gives them to Frank and to Hank for signature, for review and signature. And if there's any question, I think then it comes back to the board, but I don't think the board has to go through single bill.
There's definitely a price limit on that though, up to a certain amount.
Mhm.
I know the school district, that's always an agenda item
Yeah.
to pay the bills.
But it's a
They don't-
consent item typically, where we sit behind the scenes and we don't go through each one and it's all.
Right, it's all.
And then like say that we do have a payment to Mark, because he looked over some stuff, she would pull that out of the consent item, not vote on that, and then we'd vote separately. But I think it is a consent, it's not something we look at, we just all know because we've seen it in the back, but we vote to pay the bills.
Right, so it's not like at the meeting, we have to go
No.
through every single.
No.
People board members can pull out bills and say, tell me what
Ask
this
questions.
is and what.
Right, so it's basically then incumbent upon Randall and Hank to send those bills out to the board for review. So if there's any question that they can bring it up at the next meeting, is that it?
And you list it as a consent. Consent agenda includes things like that. I don't know what your stuff is.
Right. So like the admission policy, I'm working on writing the policies and procedures for purchases and bill paying, all accounting stuff. So stay tuned, it's coming, so that we'll know exactly the process, like up to a certain dollar amount, I just approve and they get paid, other dollar amounts, we come to the board, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, the policy's coming. And that's why it went down to Cam, was so I could understand, so we could write up this policy.
There's NRS on all of that.
Yeah, perfect, so.
Okay, thanks for that. Teacher job description.
Okay, job description, another one. So this is for elementary teachers.
This is still in current meeting.
Yep, current meeting, next document is job description for elementary school teacher. Some questions I have, we have to solve logistically. with contracts and money available, et cetera, coming July 1. So this year it's going to be a little bit different because we're starting up, but hopefully this gets us started with regards to the general essential duties and responsibilities and expectations for our teachers. And the question marks are highlighted in yellow. And again, this has to do with training. I have to solidify some of this. And then when we can actually start their contract versus if they're willing to do some pre-work ahead of time. I got to figure all that out. The one thing I do want you to note though is, and this I learned, again, this is from a suggestion from Founders. They treat training and preparation, they separate their teachers. So they have first year teachers do this, second year's teachers do something different, and then third year and beyond do something different with regards to training. So I just want to call your attention that a teacher is not a teacher is not a teacher. We actually are meeting the teachers where the individual are. As a school, that would be our concept. What else did I want to say?
They have a lot more teachers,
They do, yeah.
so. I guess with ours, they're all first year.
And we're all first year.
year.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, we're all gonna be in the same category.
We have to approve a calendar,
Yes, that'll come up next soon.
because that would include teacher work days.
Yeah. So I think, I have already started receiving emails from teachers who want to know if we have vacancies and if we're hiring. So people are interested.
Wow.
So I think we want to move towards, again, solidifying this for this year. And then we can revisit it into our subsequent years, so that those teachers that are interested, we can respond to them and keep them on the hook.
Yes, definitely.
So there's that.
Where did you get this, this, what do you call it, the agenda or the
Job
The description,
application?
from Founders, and then just looking at others from I pulled out a couple different school districts that I could find their job description.
And they're not that much different, are they?
No.
It's pretty basic.
Look on the first page,
Yeah.
bullet 9,
Yes. Oh,
10 after.
that's an extra 10.
Yeah, so exciting.
Good catch.
And then I know we put in our application that we anticipated for K3, we would do primarily local. Because I know you said you, like in North Carolina, there's so much risk trying to bring in people from other places.
If we
We
can.
don't, if you can locally get cream of the crop teachers, which I think you can now because there's very disenfranchised with the public. Some of the best teachers out there are looking for things like this. So let's really try to focus on homegrown, local, high-end, high-quality teachers in the elementary. Now, once you get to secondary and you need the Latin teacher, you're pulling.
I've already had 3 people in town tell me they will teach Latin.
Okay.
I was like, who knew there's so many Latin speakers in Elko?
I think we're gonna find fantastic local teachers with this big of a pool. I really do.
So then, kind of back to the job description, then, well, it'll impact the salary schedule, we'll talk about that. None of this training is gonna be paid separately, it's all included in the contract, correct? Because some of these, it looks like some are gonna be working different amounts of days.
Well, I guess I'm curious if contractually, we would have a first year contract, a second year contract for days, but the salary is the same, right?
So that's the question.
But as you move up in years, so their salary would be incumbent on their years.
Salary goes up. but
Goes up.
You're working less days.
Yeah. But you have more experience and you're bringing back to us what we've invested into you.
So you may, just not sure what that looks like, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I mean, we're used to everybody does the same amount of days. If I send you to a training in June, I pay you extra for that.
So,
So you can have a base of whatever, 190 days. let's say,
yeah,
That everybody does 190, but some do 195.
Correct.
So that 5 is gonna be,
like at a stipend rate,
Minimal stipend, you don't have to go crazy.
because
Yeah.
some teachers you have that are, you know, have worked, they're second year teachers, they didn't get it the first year.
right?
Go back to that.
Yeah. Okay.
So just a
Okay.
thought of having a base of X amount of days and then additional payment for other days.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I'll incorporate that. Okay.
Maybe what do you think?
Yeah, that's how we typically, in school districts, all the new teachers get a stipend for the early training days.
Okay,
It's typically a week before.
First year doesn't
everybody else
matter.
starts. Everybody's getting
The
something.
policy is gonna be, needs to,
right,
maybe in year 2 may be changed.
Okay.
But year 1 is,
Yeah,
because
first year, they're just, it's just part of the expectation. We start work August 1st and do these trainings or whatever. Because we did talk about spreading the trainings out, so it's not all at once and they're overwhelmed. They might take 4
yeah,
days the first week of August, get them a week off to absorb it, and then come back
yeah,
for another couple days. And that big orientation.
I like this June, July, August, I like that setup. Well, then we have, depending on what you do on a calendar, the one that we have put in the application, have those Friday half-day things.
Correct.
So those were other training
Yeah.
things.
in addition to, oh, I should note, okay, yeah,
Those are embedded into the 190 days.
those are in that.
Those are embedded.
Yeah, they're part of their contracted days.
Okay,
Just a split day.
That, that may be the only thing sticking with some people that want to transfer is this. You know, let's say they're on the salary schedule at, VA plus 9 years and they're at 60,000 or whatever. And they're used to working 184 days or whatever, it's, well, it's a 40 week now, whatever that is. And
Yeah.
now we're saying.
60
For
something.
that, we're gonna work 10 more days than that. But
Well, that's
that's just
good.
how it's gonna be, for,
That's right.
I would think for us. Unless we,
They don't, yeah,
That's the one, that's why you're gonna get the crane. Want to do it.
we can only afford to pay what.
so, I don't know if we can approve it with all these questions, or if you want me to fill in that is much detail, but the detail would be more, you know, the operational, like what videos, what I'm gonna have them read. So I don't know exactly how we proceed, if we can approve it, because the bulk is here.
Yeah.
You mean
I don't
the
know
job
the
description? The job description, you mean?
The job description, yes. Is there a second? Second? I have a comment for discussion on that, I guess. Is there any reason on this one to have second and third year even on it? Because we're probably gonna have a different job description for
Oh,
year
okay,
2.
I think it lets them know a little bit about what they're getting into and what to expect, gives them a little idea of what.
If that's the way you're gonna,
definitely I'm gonna do that. I like that where I like the thought
So
of
they know there's,
I like differentiation of our teachers, right?
there you go.
Just like we differentiate for our kids.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
We're gonna differentiate for our teachers.
so those second and third years, those people are still traveling to Vegas. For those trainings, right? Literacy essentials in Singapore now.
Second year for sure. Third year, probably not. Third year would be something we probably do here. Because by third year, we should have some in-house experts and we should be able to do some training on our own. Right?
And I know when I first looked at that, I thought about, well, why are we paying for all those people to travel? Why don't we just bring the trainers here? But then I thought, well, the benefit is you get to be around all those other teachers that use the curriculum and picking their brain, especially for our first year people. So
So,
that was my original thing, but I agree now. I think it is better.
Because you only have one third grade teacher, for them to be around a pocket of 8 other third grade teachers are gonna be pulling
Yeah, and interesting, Joe, you bring up a good point. Founders is getting to the point where they're having such great retention in their teachers that they're not necessarily needing all of this training. They're rethinking their training plan. But so in the future, they may send their new students up to us because we're still going to need this intense level of training. And so this may shift a little bit as they are shifting their training schedule. But for next year, we know that this will fit well.
Nice.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor of the job description as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed? I vote aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, next up. Oh, sorry, Bill, I'm doing your job.
You're good, go ahead. Salaries.
But that habit, easy. Okay, salary schedule. Now this, I think, honest, I want you to see it. I want you to start thinking about it. But I don't think we need to approve it because I think we want to run some of these, we want to put some of these numbers into some budgets and play some what if games. Like, what if we got all 10-year teachers? Can we afford this, right? Versus we get all first-year teachers. But I wanted to share this with you so that you can be thinking about it and help me think through it. So I've given you the one I've created, and then the second page behind in your book is Elko County's. So you can compare the difference between us and Elko County. I've simplified ours a little bit. They have more columns. I've tried to simplify it. I know that EIAA follows Elko County. They just use it exactly the same. We're going to expect more of our teachers. So I kind of played with the numbers. They're close. But again, I've simplified the columns.
What is the highlighted?
Oh, the highlighted is when they cap out. So they don't get additional raise after a certain time. Because we want to, my thinking there is to encourage education. We want to keep pushing them to, we as educators should always be the lead learners. So we should not stop learning.
So when you put out a posting, I mean, we have time on our hands, I understand that, but you're gonna put a salary range.
We could put a range.
When is it that you're thinking you wanna start? Like, when are you anticipating that you wanna start advertising for positions? Is that gonna be January? Okay, so we have a little, so you can go for a rate to get the ranges down.
Yeah, so I'm thinking if next meeting, we can really spend some time talking about budget, and I will have had time to run some of these scenarios, then we could have that range
Okay.
identified, and then we can work out the nitty-gritty details if needed.
We based our original budget off the average salary of an employee in the state, which was 65, I thought.
Yeah, we looked at 10-year, I think of 10 years and it
Yeah, we assume
BA
there'd
plus
be a,
15 or something.
you know, bell curve distribution to that.
So if you're hiring first year teachers, that's gonna be less. If you're hiring 25-year teachers,
We're in trouble.
well, but the average is gonna be,
Yeah, it was 10 years and
So
a BA.
60 would be, yeah, you'd have to be coming in at least a master's with 5 years of experience or 9 years as a bachelor's.
Yeah.
So
and can you,
That's probably fair.
as we move through this, can you present to us stuff on any sort of performance incentive?
I did some research quickly on that, and so I can propose something in what I saw. It's interesting, it's like everything, there's some arguments that think it's a great thing, and there's other arguments that think it's a terrible idea. All from education, I was pulling like from Ed Weekly and, you know, so I think that's a decision. I can certainly provide some resources and references and research, and then you guys can chew that up.
And the nice thing is that's at least 2 years out because we would not even be having data for, you know what I'm saying? We don't need to even look at, because there's so many concerns around that.
Yeah.
People will avoid wanting the kid who's gonna tank their data and all of this stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting, maybe you do some school-wide incentive stuff. I don't know, it's something to talk about. But again, we wouldn't even have teachers till next year, and they wouldn't even have data till the following year, and they wouldn't have growth data
So year 3.
forward. And you want it to be growth-based, you wouldn't want it to be just
Well, it
academic
could
data.
be- It could be based on a lot of different things. I mean, it
Sure.
could be just star rating, it could be growth, it could be on
Sure.
our own assessments, it could be whatever. And I think it's similar for when we do Brandon's contract,
Sure.
you know, to me, if there's no incentive to do anything different, then people don't do anything different.
Right, it just has to be based on growth, so you're at least 3 years out, probably.
I would just like to see what,
Yeah, I'll give you guys some references,
Yeah.
some research. I can certainly do that. I'd love to research.
and if you, if you think it's a good idea, you would say, here's something that you would like to see,
Yeah,
if you think it is.
Okay.
I have some good ideas on that, the tendency to have.
That would might be a subcommittee,
Yeah,
And yeah,
but like Amy said, that's kind of down.
down the road, but it's good to start thinking about.
Can you elaborate on the pay cap a little bit? So it says cap of 10 years prior experience for incoming. So does that mean that anything above 10 in like the BA column would like not ever actually be a paid out salary?
Increase. Oh, that's a good question.
What was that again? So if you come in, but
So I'm just trying to understand that. Like, suppose that I have 12 years of teaching experience with the BA and I want to come work here, what would my starting salary be?
I think this would be 60,310.
But read at the bottom there, cap at 10 years prior experience.
So it'd still be 60 because you come in at 10.
Right, so that's just what I'm asking for clarification. Sorry, I didn't look at this closely enough. All of those are 310.
But the one on Delco's just leaves them blank.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry, that was my
Oh,
misunderstanding.
you're fine.
Spreadsheet.
You're fine.
and some things we can look at is those longevity stipends, I mean, 20 years. That's a long time to be somewhere, so maybe we look at tweaking some of that, you know, if they have a high rating. And they stick around over 5 years, like we can manipulate these. If we determine that they're highly efficient, because that's gonna be evaluation.
Yeah.
And they stay for more than 5 years versus 20 years, that's a long time, then you give them these little bonuses.
Okay, especially because we're new.
Yeah, 20 years, holy.
Yeah, that's a really good
And
point.
maybe you don't want to keep them 20 years unless they're also highly effective, right? I don't want to, just because you've been around 20 years, I don't want to give you any kind
Oh,
of
you're so right.
longevity unless you're also one of my high quality, highly effective on not only on NEPF, not only on the evaluation system, but also the growth model, right? Like, let's put some
So
carrots in
is
there.
it still on certification? You have to get renewing credits, right, to be recertified?
Yeah.
So like here, the BAs, and you get down to year 10. By that time, you have to go through a recertification process and you have to show that you had credits. So they move over through years anyways, just through the recertification process, because they have to have continuing ed credits or and they have to prove that they have those. So they're gonna be over there anyway. So let's say you get somebody 14 years experience that you want to hire, they're not going to be in the BA column. Right, because they've already had to have multiple credits. Because
Well,
they
those
had
are
to
typically college credits.
because
College,
they-
those are
If-
college.
If they've taken those college credits,
Right.
which a lot of people like, you only need 15 hours. And so that would only be 3
So
credits.
That's
maybe.
so
Sure,
recertification,
College credits.
because that's
Yeah.
right, because some of the trainings they could give recertification, the district would give recertification
Right,
credits.
so this is
Not-
college credits, right? These are college credits.
Does this look like Founders too?
I didn't look at founders,
You know-
also focus on Elko.
Well, because what's fascinating, you know, we like to think outside the box, and I don't want to beat this dead horse too long, because this is just a draft, but the research shows abundantly that additional education does not make you more efficient. There's no correlation between me with a master's, 2 master's degrees, and you with a bachelor's. You could actually be just as or more effective.
Right.
So if we really want to think outside the box, we need to maybe not look at giving them more money based on how much more educated they are. This is just something to think about,
I think that's a great point.
because we want to be different. We
It
want to
should be performance, not.
agree. Yeah.
That is what they call effective efficiency and accountability.
Yeah.
But that's a lot harder to evaluate and hire
Yeah.
somebody new.
It is.
We could think outside the box. If I have a degree, that's excellent. but then not moving up based on more degrees, but maybe I have a certification and now I'm actually have a reading, what would you call it, a reading certificate that makes me now more marketable. Because I can, or I'm an MTSS specialist, I have a, a background in this, that you could look at it for that, different things you bring to the table. Just because I have 2 master's degrees means nothing, but I actually am certified to now help with IEPs because I know how to do assessments. Oh, you bring more to the table. We can offer you more. I don't know how.
The only reason these are here is because of the union.
That's right.
You can say, we're not using this, we're gonna contract. I interview you, I look at all the things you have, and I'm gonna pay you X. And next year, I'll see how you do, and if I wanna pay you more, to
Yeah.
your new contract.
I think it'd be fun to talk this out.
This is union based, we are not.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want, so
We could come up with some ranges because we need a market
criteria.
Yes,
And we come up with some sort of internal rubric to guide.
that's right. And then you say, they're coming with a reading specialist and they're coming with an ability to help with, they have an EMT, which is gonna be, so they're gonna help with our emergency
Safety.
stuff. And then, so we're gonna offer these stipends, or we're gonna, who
Yeah.
knows?
Right.
Okay, added value to school.
Added value, and I'm sure there's already a school out there doing it, a private school or a charter school. It's already.
I will
getting
research.
creative.
Well, at our size, we're gonna have people that only teach 2 periods as we progress.
Yeah.
Right? We get into junior high or whatever. And you have 1 class where you need somebody to teach in English and social studies, whatever. And they might also have to teach band or
Yeah, you don't have to offer some incentives.
or, so their job description looks different than, this just makes it clean and nobody can dispute it.
Okay.
That is, but we're different because size.
I love it. Okay, so
It'll be
so
complicated. It'll be messy.
Complicate you not.
After elementary, it'll be complicated. Elementary, I don't
will
think
start
it's
simple.
gonna start simple. But if they have something to offer, let's give them a incentive.
And perhaps we can just use this for our range. And I'll do some budget kind of based on this, but I'll come next time with a new thought.
Yeah, and not on, you know what, let's just, because the research is indisputable that your amount of education is not connected whatsoever to your effectiveness.
And teachers get resentful. I can tell you from experience. So when I was teaching in Fallon, and I was the head of the science department, and there were teachers in there who were so ineffective, it was ridiculous. But they had more years' experience than anyone.
Making way more money?
Yeah, and I worked extra hours, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we, as teachers, we all know how that is, and they do start resenting each other when
Yep.
this person. And that has to do with the administrator is supposed to hold them accountable and make them do what they're supposed to do. But when I'd walk in the other person's classroom, the kids would be hiding in cabinets and.
And then this first year teacher is running circles around them and making pennies.
I mean, I think not even just, as a parent, you see that.
Yeah.
with the children. Evaluating
Okay,
your
We'll get
teachers.
into the evaluation process too at some point. So,
Yeah, tie that into it.
And I think that's that's the direction we're trying to go anyway. We want to be different. We want our teachers to teach something.
And we want to honor that they're dedicated. Well, I can get rid of the ones that.
I do have teachers that would be so happy to be a part of that.
Yes.
Because
different, okay.
They will definitely watch that happen.
I think we should give some deference to degrees because that does say something about
Yes.
them.
I agree.
But maybe not dictate the entire pay scale.
Not all of it.
But that, and a master's degree gives them 1 additional point of school value.
Yes.
The system.
You know what? You look at the way they do administrators and model it by that, because that's how they do it. It's just not a guarantee that because I've got this, this, and this, but it's this, and then they've got different categories and percentages based on what you bring, what certifications, what you bring. So that maybe we model it.
I love it.
This ties her hands, right? So
Yeah.
let's say Kim walks in and you want to hire Kim, and she's making 73,000 at the school district right now. And you look at our scale and we can only pay her 60 if you use this.
Right, yeah.
You want her and she's not going to come here unless she makes what she's making.
And she'll knock it out of the park for us. So we come up with what
We
I
actually did.
want you to
Gifted and
have
talented.
flexibility to say,
stipend.
I want her and she's making that and. I want to hear what she's, at least what she's currently making.
And yeah, you get creative because she comes with 17 evaluations that are all highly effective with growth data, and she can show all of that, then we can start going, okay, we want these high quality,
Yeah.
we want the rock stars.
We totally want
And we
the.
want to pay the rock stars,
Right.
and we don't want the duds.
Well, I'm glad you said something, Amy.
Yeah.
You broke us out of the mold. Good
Heck
job.
yeah, this is crap. I mean, it is, there's no research to back this up, it's a union.
Okay, so I'll work on that and I'll propose something different
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Get creative.
Yeah,
Use that creative brain.
that's exciting.
It is.
Have the space. Okay, so good. Thank you. That's exactly what I needed, that enriching conversation. Okay. So no.
You want the best school in the world, you gotta change what's currently being.
I'm telling you,
Yes.
that was the conversation I just had with the parent today. We gotta do things different. We can't keep doing it the same.
That's where we can draw on the best.
I just,
Good ones.
before the meeting, I was giving a presentation at the Christian school on the dyslexia stuff I do, and they were asking me. I mean, these people were really curious about this. What are you doing? Hillsdale? And I mean, it was like they wanted to be a part of it.
Chomping at the bit.
I think the teachers that were.
Okay.
Like it.
So I was at Business Before Hours a couple weeks ago, and at the end, everybody has a couple minutes to say something about their business, and I kind of gave an update on where we're at, and I got applause for it. So
Aw.
Thanks.
Oh, well, people
people are excited about this.
Very excited.
So, I'm Ted's public comment, we don't have that, but I would like to add to ours, a good of the order.
Okay.
So we can do things just like all say things
Oh,
that
yeah.
Oh, okay.
we can share.
At the end,
At the
before public comment?
At the end.
Okay,
The county commission, they call it director's comments.
okay.
Open comments,
Yeah.
staff comments.
So it's directors because it's
Directors.
specific to the board.
Okay, so board comments is what we would call it, since we're a governing board.
After the last action, after the last item,
Um,
just before public comment.
it's right before meeting adjournment, I think.
Yeah.
The last thing we do is people just.
Okay,
And with a positive, make sure you guys keep it positive. Yeah, any correspondence, so they can read it.
okay.
Very nice.
And we didn't have any, the only follow-on agenda item we have is the accounting stuff. Right?
What now?
Well, we gotta look at the enrollment policy.
And then enrollment policy and then okay, I just was making sure. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
You know, we have a financial subgroup that's going to work on stuff.
Okay, we'll add that one too.
Okay, next board meeting
Next board meeting
is
is-
December 4th.
Report,
That's set, so we don't need a motion or anything on that, okay?
So the agenda needs to be posted, ooh, Thanksgiving. Ooh. Oh,
Should we move it to
I
the,
need to check when the library, okay, that's for me, sorry, I'm talking out loud.
No.
and I will have to do that Zoom because my husband's getting knee surgery the next, will be in Reno, or his checkup for knee surgery.
Does anybody object to these meetings being a little earlier since they're so lengthy? Or is that bad?
I'm fine with it.
The 4 o'clock, you mean? Keeping them at 4?
No, a little earlier is what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
Just I mean, I can make it work. It's just a suggestion. Seems like that.
I think eventually they're gonna be much shorter
Yeah,
as things.
well, we might have one per month instead of 2.
Someday, I hope.
Irrespective of their, I mean,
So,
for the desired time, is that the?
so while we're on time, let's decide time for the next meeting. So how about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I mean,
I can do anything.
I like it earlier too, that way when I drive home.
Yeah, I was just thinking like even 3 might.
I could do 3, 2 might be pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have to, it doesn't matter to me, I don't have to change anything, but it just seems like to me that it would be nice to be a little bit earlier so that.
3.
Right, so,
3
one
o'clock.
portion of this potential motion will be 3 o'clock, and then what about the date? Because we do have a holiday and posting it, you have to be careful about.
Yeah, I would just have to, I would just post it on next Wednesday is all. I
Yeah.
mean, you can always post it early.
Yeah, we just can't.
The only bad thing is it just locks in the agenda sooner. So if something came up, but we're gonna be eating turkey, so who's gonna be
That's
thinking about
gonna
NCAE on Thursday?
So are you okay with the fourth?
I'm okay with the fourth. I just had that aha, like, I can't post it on the fourth. Although what I would typically do, I need to do it Wednesday.
Any objection to it being 3 o'clock?
No.
Okay. So it'll be December 4th at 3. Will we keep all of them at 3 from now on? Until we decide otherwise.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, and just note, one thing I learned in open meeting law training, we are supposed to agendize and post subcommittee meetings. So like when we meet for the budget, we need to have it 3 days in advance so we can post it.
even though there's only 2 people,
Any subcommittees are supposed to be
so
posted.
maybe we avoid the name subcommittee and come up with Tuesday.
Just
A meeting with the administrator or something.
Because those are public.
there should be public.
Anybody can attend.
It's, yeah.
Yeah,
So if you just, we're gonna meet, you 3, we're gonna meet with 2, you and Mark are gonna meet with her, just have a meeting. Then it doesn't have to.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Get
together.
I did read, so you're the chairman of that committee, because they do not have a chairman.
Yeah, that's why I would not call them subcommittees,
interesting.
and
Yeah,
call
that's
them
what just.
gathering.
The gathering.
Clarification meeting.
Those are
I don't know that you need to keep it that far.
On the regular agenda it comes back as a report from the committee, so I think it has to, you have to follow the rules on that.
We can't be in a, just a.
And it's not hard. I think it's like anything. Once you got that, once you have it, it's not hard. We just, the thing is you have to just think out 3 days. And then we post it. Now that I know what I'm doing, it takes me minutes to know exactly what to do. But yeah, the first few times I was like, what?
Well,
This is so hard.
That's
Just don't want to bog you down because she's kind of running superintendent, principal, like you're doing it, like right now, it's not a big deal because there's not.
No
anything.
kids.
No.
Well,
We don't have people to
no
deal with yet.
staff.
Yeah,
That's, we want to overweight.
I kind of, I don't know if that's a committee, because you're gonna call Mark, and Mark, you guys are gonna. you're not
Meet up with the
gonna have a-
principal.
I mean, you may have a meeting where you sit down and just have it back, it's probably,
And it might just be a few emails, yeah.
yeah, so.
I don't know.
And I mean, like, if you look in the bylaws, there's like provisions for actual standing committees that have meetings and things like that.
This isn't.
And then that's not what that is.
This is
So,
the
I
solving
mean, it
problem.
seems like maybe you could call it something
Ooh,
more informal.
and I wonder if it doesn't come through, ultimately, whatever is decided can come through me
Principal's report.
into the principal's report, or it's gonna be part of our budget. Right? Because it's all about money.
It's just research.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's gonna come into how we are gonna fund startup versus operation.
And you don't have to do the whole
Yeah.
opening it up and doing all that. It's like, it's that.
So we need to
So
change
if I
that.
understand this correctly, we are not a subcommittee. We've just individually been tasked to figure this out.
Sounds like, I think that's.
So they need to change that in these minutes then, right?
Treasurer's gonna meet with the.
Because
principal.
what's Mark? Mark
Principal, the
is this
accountant.
public guy who has some knowledge, right?
How about advisory?
Well, it's not an advisory committee, you guys are just, you're gonna do some research on your own.
Try to figure it out.
To the next year. It's not a.
I think it's
So
just
what
an
do we
add-on.
do?
You can ask John how
The research
Or you don't need to formalize it.
task force?
No, Hank's gonna do.
I'm gonna do some
Hank's gonna do.
Just say Hank and school leader.
Treasurer's
research.
Even a treasurer's report.
Whoever he talks to is up to him.
Yeah.
So he's just gonna do some.
Treasurer's report back to the
So
board.
Hank's going to do research.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
people
are-
like that.
that's good.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
So moved. Meeting is adjourned, unless anybody has an objection.
Okay.
Does the person that was here last week from the paper typically come to every school board meeting, or is